What up, yo? She got some
And then a good news story to help keep you sane. We're talking about all that and much more on today's brand new Philip DeFranco. A white mom who appears to have called a black 5-year-old the N-word in a viral video has now raised over $666,000 to relocate. Trump said, "I don't know," and asked about due process and if he has to uphold the Constitution as president, and that was only one of the things that we have to talk about. Israel now officially plans to reoccupy all of Gaza and hold it indefinitely if no deal is reached by May 15th. A bombing attack targeting Lady Gaga's record-breaking concert was luckily stopped. Where the Dr. Lupo cheating scandal is creators now calling for his ban. And then a good news story to help keep you sane. We're talking about all that and much more on today's brand new Philip DeFranco show. You daily dive into the news, how it's being covered, and how people are reacting to it, starting with this. We should talk about Shiloh Hendricks. And she's in the news because she's the white Minnesota mom that appears to have hurled racial slurs at a 5-year-old black boy at a playground in Rochester, Minnesota. With that happening after the child allegedly stole her own child's diaper bag, according to her, though I will say that's been disputed. And the reason that we know about this situation is because 30-year-old Sharmake Omar, who told NBC that he knows the boy's parents, that him and the kid have Somali heritage, and that the boy has autism, was there at the playground. And I'm gonna link to the full video so you can judge for yourself, but walking through it, you see Omar confronting Hendricks, and she tells him it's none of your fucking business, with her sticking her tongue out and giving him the middle finger. She then also calls him the N-word as well.
Okay, why don't you have the balls to say it right now again?
With them then going back and forth for a bit, and Hendricks appearing to admit that she called the little boy the slur and justified it.
That little kid, you call him a the little child?
What if he acts like one? He's gonna
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to...
See, my thing here is, as a grown man, so what if she calls your son a nigger, whatever, N-word? Let her go away. Why are you chasing her, recording her? Take your son, separate yourself from the equation. Tell your son, hey, words are just words. She was just mad and said whatever word she could think of that would make you upset, make me upset. She wasn't saying anything about you. It's more about her character. She's a bad person herself. Don't worry about it, son. Like, all this, recording her, she knows she was in the wrong. Like, why? Like, she might do better next time, maybe. But like, yeah, just move on, nigga.
To call the child, 5-year-old, a nigger, the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
With Omar then also telling NBC that Hendricks said that he and his wife shouldn't have more children because they're a drain on the welfare system. Right, so this whole situation, the video gets a lot of attention. You see the reactions that you often expect. But then we see something else happen. Hendricks starts a fundraiser on Give, Send, Go titled Help Me Protect My Family, which for some context here, Give, Send, Go is often labeled the Christian crowdfunding service, but it's primarily known because it's the place that raised money for Kyle Rittenhouse, Daniel Penny, and Luigi Mangione. And on Hendricks' campaign page, she wrote, "I've been put in a very dire situation. I recently had a kid steal from my 18-month-old son's diaper bag at a park. I called the kid out for what he was." With her then adding, "Another man, who we believe is Omar, who we recently found out has a history with law enforcement, proceeded to record me and follow me to my car. He then posted these videos online, which has caused my family and myself great turmoil. My social security number has been leaked, my address and phone number have been given out freely, my family members are being attacked, my eldest child may not be going back to school, even where I exercise has been exposed. With her closing, I am asking for your help to assist in protecting my family. I fear that we must relocate. I have 2 small children who do not deserve this. We have been threatened to the extreme by people online. Anything will help. We cannot and will not live in fear." And while she initially set the goal for $50,000, the donations just flooded in and just surpassed that so fast. And in fact, as I'm recording this, she just passed $666,000. Now, as far as those donations, if you end up going
Christian website.
to the page, you might notice that there really aren't comments attached to each donation. And that, as it turns out, is because many of those comments were just filled to the brim with racism. And so Give, Send, Go actually disabled the comments, with its founder and CEO telling the Washington Post the team did so due to the volume of inappropriate remarks that violated our policies. So even with the comments disabled, some people are still getting their message across with suggestive usernames, or with stuff like "Time to Fight Back," "Rise Up," and "Enough Already," as well as 1488, which is code for Heil Hitler, and "Your Austrian Painter," another apparent Hitler reference. And it's in addition addition to Day of Rope, White Unity Will Unite, and people trying to spell out the N-word with their donations. And so in response to everything that we were seeing, you had Give, Send, Go saying to the Post, "We understand the sensitivity of this situation and the strong emotions it has evoked. Give, Send, Go does not endorse or condone the personal views or actions of individual campaign organizers or their supporters, nor do we control the motivations of donors." Also, regarding this fundraising campaign, we saw Hendrix herself responding with an update to the fundraiser, writing that the support that they've received is unbelievable, saying, "I've never felt so scared yet reassured in my life. It's truly a whirlwind of emotions." Then saying she hasn't been harmed, but adding, "I'm still very frightened and I don't think I'll feel safe until we can escape completely." And finishing by saying, "It's such a strange feeling to be living in a blissful dream and a nightmare simultaneously. Thank you for all your continuous support and love. We have to keep fighting for the safety of all our families, not just mine." Now with that, we've also seen a big response on the other end. So for example, you have the Rochester chapter of the NAACP starting its own fundraiser for the family of the 5-year-old boy, with that aiming for $150,000 and blowing past that to over $340,000, and then the page actually being shut down at the request of the family. With seeing the NAACP writing, "Your compassion, your solidarity, and your belief in love over hate have been overwhelming and deeply moving." Also, I'll say, that's not...
Nigga, take the money. What you want? Like, why were you recording her? And then post it. And then, but deny money? Or maybe he took the money. I don't
Where this
know.
ends, because we have to go back to Omar, for example, the guy who took the video, because he's chimed back in to say that he's received a torrent of harassment since the incident. Right, and that because not only did he take the video, you had Hendrix alluding to his history with law enforcement, which includes a sexual assault charge from 2022 that was actually recently dropped. And so you had Omar telling KIMT News that he's been getting death threats, his information's been posted online, and he's concerned for his and his children's safety. Additionally, it looks like there may be legal problems for Hendrix in the near future. Right, and that in part because the city of Rochester posted a statement on Facebook calling the video deeply disturbing and adding, "The Rochester Police Department is gathering information and actively looking into the matter." And this is due to the NAACP calling on the police, the city attorney, and the county attorney to investigate and charge Hendrix with a hate crime. And with that, you had Omar telling NBC that the 5-year-old boy's parents have expressed support for prosecuting her if possible. So likely there's much more to come, much more to see play out, and in the meantime, I gotta pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts here, not only around the incident, but around the fundraising after? But then, next up in the news today, Israel now reportedly plans to take full control of Gaza. Not just the parts that it's occupied since October 7th, but rather the entire Gaza Strip with no clear end date for how long they'll stay. Now with that, I'll say in some ways, this is what many expected would happen once the war started, especially since Israel already controls around 50% of the territory and refused to go forward with a ceasefire deal that they had made. With the same reports today that the plan was agreed to in an early morning cabinet vote after it was revealed that the military was calling upon reservists for another Gaza operation. Now with that, a de facto occupation of the entire Gaza Strip, that's already a huge escalation of the conflict, but there's more. The plan will reportedly also have hundreds of thousands of Gazans moved to the southern part of the territory, meaning that they'll likely be displaced from their homes in other parts. You know how Gaza was already described as a densely packed area? Well, this is obviously gonna make it worse. And unfortunately, this entire scheme, it has precedent. Right? Gaza used to be under Israeli occupation for decades until 2005, and after that, it was essentially blockaded by Israel and Egypt, leading to its current situation. As far as timing, there are some questions about when this plan will actually begin, with one defense official telling the Associated Press that they don't expect the plan to actually begin until Trump visits later this month. Also, as far as other details, there are a lot of questions. Obviously, part of the plan is for the final extermination of groups like Hamas and to get the remaining hostages out of there, but after that, there's the question of, what the hell is actually supposed to happen once they take over Gaza? Does Israel plan to completely take over and be the admin for everything directly, or is it seriously going to consider Trump's plan for the U.S. to take over in some capacity? Which I will say on that last part, it seems that they're at least considering U.S. involvement of some kind. Right? Because yesterday we saw the cabinet approving plans for Israel to completely take over the aid distribution within Gaza, all of which will be protected by American security contractors, which you have people saying in some ways is better than the current state of affairs since Israel blocks off essentially all aid into Gaza. But there, you have critics claiming that it'll give Israel far too much control over how the aid is distributed. A critique that Israel has pushed back against, claiming that when aid was within Gaza, it was a tool used by Hamas to control people. Either way, the plan will probably be rejected by the UN, only for Israel to ignore them anyways. And then as far as the news in the region, that's just what's happening with Gaza. Tel Aviv making front page news after Israel's main airport was targeted by missiles. With that attack reportedly launched by the Houthis out in Yemen, with a spokesperson saying, in response to Israel's escalation with its decision to expand its hostile operation in Gaza, the Yemeni armed forces announced it will work to impose a comprehensive air blockade on the Israeli enemy. With them then going on to say that this would involve repeatedly targeting Israeli airports, although so far there's only been one strike since the announcement was made. But of course, keep in mind, this is a rapidly developing situation. And then I've got more news you need to know about in just a minute. But first, I get compliments about my stylish Vessi sneakers all the time. And yeah, my Vessis do look great. Easy agreement. But then also people ask me if they've heard these spots, are they really waterproof? And yeah, the answer is yes, these babies are 100% waterproof. Something I definitely appreciate more and more since I've moved to a place where it rains more than 3 times a year. And it's a big part of why I love having Vessi as a sponsor of the PDF, where we don't have to sacrifice style over function. Because before Vessi, I had a whole rotation. My might rain shoes, my errands only beaters, casual date night, and on and on. Now, one pair handles all of it, and they simplified my closet and they somehow go with everything. But I just normally rock the weekenders. They're clean, comfy, and built for real life. Like when I'm out playing with the kids and the sky flips from sunny to the end of days. Still dry, still happy. Dog walks in the drizzle, grocery run puddles, long ass nights on my feet at a show, no problem. It's like wearing a rain boot disguised as a stylish sneaker, and my feet thank me every time. So yeah, say
Courtesy.
Yes, more.
Sorry, Philly.
Franco. Go check him out. But then, next up in the news, Donald Trump, the president of the United States, in case you forgot, he does not know if he has to uphold the Constitution. And that is actually just one of the things that he's said or shared over the past few days that's got people, let's say, talking. Things including more threats to invade another country, offensive AI imagery, a new tariff announcement, and a promise to reopen the country's most notorious prison. Let's, start with the Constitution of it all, with Trump's comments coming during an interview with NBC's Kristen Welker on Meet the Press. Right in there, at one point, she asked Trump about the Supreme Court's order to facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia from El Salvador, which the Trump administration has said is out of its control, and also claiming it would be complying with the order by simply allowing the man back if he somehow made it here. But then, last week, you had Trump saying in an interview with ABC News that he could bring Abrego Garcia back if he wanted, but he chooses not to, seemingly admitting defiance to the Supreme Court. And to that, Trump's other comments, the whole Abrego Garcia case, and really so many of the administration's other actions on immigration, including deportations to El Salvador under the Alien Enemies Act, they've all raised serious questions about the White House's respect for due process, rule of law, and by extension, the Constitution. And so Welker basically asked him point blank if he'd stand up for those basic principles, and he could not say yes.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says
I don't know. It might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands of people that are some murderers and some drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth. But some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it.
But even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they are going to obviously follow what the Supreme Court said. What you said is not what I heard the Supreme Court said. They have a different interpretation.
Also, here you had Welker asking about something else that would violate the Constitution, but has been supported by Trump's supporters, a third term.
Are you
Nah, Trump's kind of tripping on this one. I'll
seriously considering a third term, Mr. President, even though it's prohibited by the Constitution, or is this about staying politically viable?
I will say this. So many people want me to do it. I have never had requests so strong as that. But it's something that, to the best of my knowledge, you're not allowed to do. I don't know if that's constitutional that they're not allowing you to do it or anything else, but there are many people selling the 2028 hat. But this is not something I'm looking to do. I'm looking to have 4 great years and turn it over to somebody.
So notably, here and now at least, you have Trump rejecting the idea of running again more clearly than he has at times in the past. But he also didn't seem to know, or at least didn't want to acknowledge what the Constitution says on that subject. But then also in this interview had Welker asking about Trump's past comments on taking over Canada and Greenland. And to that, Trump mostly, but not entirely, ruled out military action against Canada, though he definitely did not rule out using military force against Greenland.
Would you rule out military force to take Canada?
Well, I think we're not going to ever get to that point. It could happen. Something could happen with Greenland. I'll be honest. We need that for national and international security.
But not
I think
with
it's
Canada?
highly unlikely. I don't see it with Canada. I just don't see it. I have to be honest with you.
Now, moving past that interview, which I'll link to, you can watch the full thing, Trump and the White House, as usual, were busy on social media this weekend, with among other things, Trump hosting this...
Hear me out. What if Trump changed the presidency age to like 26, right? Because 26, you get kicked off your parents' insurance. If you're old enough to get your own insurance, I feel like you're old enough to run for president. Like, by now you had like an introduction to the world. Maybe 26 and a half. Like, you just got kicked off your parents' insurance. You realize, oh dang, maybe I should have got like a doctor's appointment for that random ache I have. But like 26, like you kind of full grown at 26. So like if you raise the age to 26, I feel like the presidency race for next year would be crazy. Like real good ideas, like really getting stuff going. Like that'd be kind of interesting.
AI-generated image, and the White House later sharing it of him as the Pope. But this notably as the actual Pope just died a few weeks ago in the church.
See, and y'all could also make me the Pope. See, I'm not Catholic, but I am a god. But I'm a real nigga before I'm a god. But I don't know if I was the Pope, what would I do? What would I focus on? Honestly, if I was the Pope, let's see, they're in Italy, Rome. Let's pull that up on the map.
church is getting ready to begin the process of picking a new one.
Don't
So as
go
you
here to
might
talk
imagine,
Philly.
a lot of people, especially
Hush. You am I at the Vatican? Okay, I am at the Vatican. We don't need you anymore. Close. Okay, let's see. It is in Italy, Rome. I was right. So we about right here. What would I do first if I was Pope? I got all these people. Bunch of people. Man, you got people on lock in the US. And, you got some people in Germany. I don't know what the religious demographic is in the European areas. I doubt you got any in Russia. You probably got a lot in Africa. That Catholic really, really down for God. Down for God. Them people, I feel like you got that in Jordan. Because Africa, you got the highest extremes and the lowest extremes. You got I'm gonna kill God, and you got I'll kill myself for God in Africa. You got in between in the United States, but Africa, they say Africa has the greatest extremes in all the world. But Italy, what would I do first? Rome, Italy. I mean, I'm the Pope. Probably get down to the bottom of sexual abuse. Because at the end of the day, when you have a problem with, I mean, it's a power problem. It's like you didn't have power, so like now you have power. And you're like, ooh, I'm gonna use this power. But like, I would let the world have red districts is what I thought of, but that's not the word I was going for. But pretty much red districts, because like sex is a part of life, and like some people just can't get what the right way. Hey, thanks for the follow, Christy Moy. But like some people just can't get sex. Like it's just what it is. I mean, they could, but like the problem is they don't understand that like sex is like you can't just go get sex. Like, because the way the world works, you can't just go get sex. I mean, technically you can, but you really can't. Like that's what it like. Just like everything else in the world, if you can go buy drugs, buy alcohol, you should be able to go buy some pussy. Like it just makes sense. I mean, granted, if there's no pussy to be bought, that's one thing. But there are some girls out there who are fully willing, with no mental scarring. It's just their kink. They just will sell their pussy. That's just like, okay, that is your prerogative. But like banning the selling of, come on, son. And vice versa. Girls should be able to buy some dick. I mean, they don't really got that problem. If you buying dick, you probably got it. The issue is you. There's something wrong with you if you're buying dick. I'm sorry. There's too many dudes in this world who will fuck a tree, and you're buying dick. I'm sorry. There's something wrong with you. Like, cause like, I'm sorry. There's something wrong with you. I can't. Yeah. But Roman, I'm the Pope. That's where I started. That's crazy. Oh yeah, I did start with red districts, but yeah, that get rid of so many sexual crimes. I mean, I know a lot of the church folk be doing little boys. That's partially because they can't get married. Maybe because that happened to them when they were little and they're just repeating the cycle. But red districts, I feel like would solve a lot of problems in the world. Maybe even all the school shootings in the U.S. If they could have just went and got some pussy, like, I don't know. I don't know. But possibly. Like, what you gonna be mad about? I mean, maybe post nut clarity. Yeah, cause like you'd be mad. You're like, you know what? Let me go see Cindy at the Red Pony. You go down to the Red Pony, get your nut off, post nut clarity. You're like, you know what? I could shoot them niggas, but then I'd be right here. I'll never be able to come back right here. Rather. I was thinking I was in jail already, thinking back to this. Forget that. But I'll never be able to get this nut again. I had to go to jail for shooting niggas. Now can I get this nut? Because like I don't know. I there's no way any of these school shooters nutted from somebody else within 24 hours. I can almost promise you that none of them had someone else make them come, and then went and shot somebody else. There's no way. I'm not believing it. If you're like, dang, I kind of got to get back to you. Like, I'm not going to do nothing too crazy. Now, I know you're probably thinking, yeah, these are high school students, but like, we have to realize we are in the internet age. Almost like after you're like maybe 13, you're pretty much full grown. Like, that's kind of how it was in the old age, because like, you know, they didn't like, I mean, granted they were kind of, you know, more power hungry and kind of more pedophilic, but like, it was kind of, they didn't baby anyone. It was like, you get all the information, and when you got the information, boom, you're in the real world. But like now we kind of baby everyone till they're 18, but like, man, there are 13-year-olds who know more than 18-year-olds because they were babied all the way through, you know, traditionally how United States kind of is, Christians, you know, they become 18. They don't know much. They're just kind of like in the system. There's 13-year-olds who like know how to pay rent, know everything about life. Like, that's where we're at in the world, really. And we need to address that. Like, we need to adjust. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I forgot what I was arguing. I was in Italy, Rome. I'm the Pope. Red light districts. Yeah. People are having sex from other people. You know, getting their nuts off from other people. They would be having school shootings. I don't know how I got into that last part. I went down a tirade. I'll probably remember in editing, but I don't know if I'll edit this. I might just shoot it straight to my personal channel. I'll definitely upload it straight up. I cuss too many times. My dad would be upset. I don't think he watches my personal channel. But I don't know. I don't know if my dad would be upset. He probably, I don't know. I think he would laugh. Because I don't cuss on the regular. But I will cuss if it's funny. But I know he doesn't find cussing funny. To him. I don't know. That's interesting. Because like say a comedian were to cuss and it was funny, he would laugh. But I know in general he doesn't find cussing funny because cussing means something serious and that's how he interprets it. He's like, if you're cussing, something serious, then what's up? You know, he's in New York like that. So like, I don't know. I think he would find it funny. Yeah, first thing would be probably red light districts. People need to get their nuts off. Because there's no way you're shooting a school. Like, if there's like a $10 nut you could get somewhere. And you just go somewhere, just get your nut off. And it's someone else. You don't even gotta worry about it. You just like, thank you. And the second thing, well, because like, you know, I'm not saying the main problem. It's just part of the problem. There's a loneliness problem. It's the money problem. I'll fix the money. I don't know how to fix a money problem as a Roman person, as a Catholic priest, Catholic pope. I mean, me personally, I would make all my people understand that like the world is infinite and we are following this God and this Son of God. But like we could really be doing anything else. We're just choosing to follow these guys. Like it's not like these are not the only options in the world. Like these are just what we're choosing to do. Granted, that'd probably make a lot of people lose faith. They'll probably start looking into other things, and like, oh, maybe they'll become more scientifically inclined, or maybe more atheistic. But either way, it would make true Christians, like true Christians who believe in the word, like the life of Jesus Christ and the words of God, and like they want to follow in that path, and they believe that if they follow that path, their afterlife will be great, and they don't got to worry about nothing. They just got to live their life as Jesus would, and they're good. And that's how Christians should be, because like that would be beautiful. But that's not what they are. They are money-hungry humans. Like, stick to your beliefs. And I feel like that's what I'll do as a pope. I'll make Christians real Christians. Like, if we're gonna be Christian, I mean, can you retire? Let me look that up. I feel like I can hold up. I feel like I can type without looking, but for some reason, I feel like I couldn't for some reason. I feel like my keyboard was. Okay, so you can't retire from Pope. So I would never be Pope my whole life because I'm not Christian. But like, as Pope, I'd probably learn Latin. I would learn everything I have to learn all the ancient texts. I'd find the Holy Grail. Like, I would learn all the stuff I would need to make Christians really Christians. Like, no more abusing people, no more nonsense. Just true following Jesus as the Son of God. Like, that is what Christianity is. If Jesus wasn't a thing, what is it? All Judaism? I need an AI that I can just click on. That'd be like this. Maybe let's see. See, if I know they're not. So there's no even point in think about it. But like I should just be able to bow, automatically connect. But like, they're not that smart, so it's gonna, maybe do terms and conditioning. No, thank you. Alt space bar. That's good enough. Am I not already logged in? I am on my Microsoft computer. Okay, thank you. You know what? I'm good. I don't even remember what I was looking up anymore. Gosh dang it. I hate you. Microsoft, why do you suck? Why do you suck so bad? Just give up and cooperate with somebody like Google. Like, just stop. I'm tired of y'all. Steam. Y'all aren't it. Y'all got the money. Y'all got the mind. You don't got the ideas. Just stop. Just collaborate with somebody. Y'all are done. You're done. Y'all don't got ideas. Just stop. Please. Gosh dang. I am on my Microsoft computer. Why do I have to log in? Oh, goofy. Back to being the Pope. Gosh dang, I don't even remember what I was talking about. We got, lonely niggas having sex. We got, what else we got? We got, making Christians really Christians. But after we become Christians, like after I get down, the real Catholics are real Christians. We really be following like as close as we can logically to like the life of Christ. That's what we're following. what do we do next as the Pope? I guess the Pope would just go around making sure everything's legitness and all that. But like, I feel like, cause we right here. I feel like we would have to make our way to Africa. Cause I am black. So like, I'd probably make my way through Africa. Probably. It's like I'm pretty sure. I forget. But there's the whispers on the internet that the Holy Grail is hidden in Africa somewhere. I think it was Ethiopia. That sounds kind of in my head. Maybe Libya. Or maybe none of these others are really like getting in my head. Like I'm remembering, like I don't know. They're not like really triggering anything. I know one of these places are really Catholic, and like they're supposedly where the Holy Grail is held, and that's probably what I would. That's what I would do. That's the third step. First, get lonely niggas some vagina. Second, we make Christians truly Christians. Follow the word and life of Jesus Christ, and try to be as close to it as possible, as the Son of God. And then 3. It would be find all the ancient artifacts that were in the Bible. The Holy Grail, Staff of Moses, all them things. Warehouse 35 is I think what it's called. It was not Warehouse. Warehouse 13. Warehouse 13. I can't. That was an easy one. I don't know why I said 35. That's interesting. I'll never know why I said 35. Warehouse 13. On some Warehouse 13, we'd go track down all the Christian artifacts. I'm pretty sure the Vatican has most of them anyways. But like, we'd go track down all the others. Probably introduce magic to the world, cause like, we gotta move on. We gotta move. The world's infinite. We're in this finite space, so like we'd kind of gotta move on. What else would I do as the Pope? That's probably like my 3 steps as the Pope. So vote for me for Pope. That was a long tirade.
A number of Catholics found this in pretty poor taste. With, for example, the New York State Catholic Conference saying, "There's nothing clever or funny about this image, Mr. President. We just buried our beloved Pope Francis, and the cardinals are about to enter a solemn conclave to elect a new successor of St. Peter. Do not mock us." So that was not the only AI-generated image of the White House posted that pissed it off a seemingly devout community, but it was a much different one. Star Wars fans. Right now, because they shared a May the 4th be with you post slamming, quote, "radical left lunatics fighting to bring Sith lords, murderers, drug lords, dangerous prisoners, and well-known MS-13 gang members back into our galaxy." And adding, "You're not the rebellion, you're the empire." So this is among other things. Commenters were quick to point out that Trump's holding a red lightsaber, which is usually the kind used by the bad guys. And that, as you had many arguing that if anyone was the empire, it would be Trump and Republicans right now. Right, noting that they essentially have all the power right now, and they've just been issuing crackdown after threat after crackdown after threat. Also, on the note of movies, if some of the Star Wars movies were coming out today, because of Trump, there's a chance that George Lucas would have to pay tariffs on them. Right, and that is connected to our next piece of news, which is that Trump says that he's putting a 100% tariff on movies made outside of the US. The Star Wars movies, they were filmed in locations all over the world. But also, if you're wondering what a tariff on a movie would actually look like, you're not alone. Because we know the president seemingly loves tariffs, slapping everything and everyone with them. But movies, they're not loaded onto pallets and shipped into the country, at least not since DVDs. And with that, all that Trump has actually done so far is authorize the Commerce Department and the US Trade Rep to, quote, "immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands." So I'm claiming that the movie industry in America is dying a very fast death because other countries have incentivized filmmakers and studios to move productions away from the US, and adding, "This is a concerted effort by other nations and therefore a national security threat. It is, in addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda." Notably, however, the vast majority of movies shown in American cinemas, they're technically produced in the US. Right, 1, in the sense that we're talking about American companies, and 2, in the sense that script writing, pre-production, casting, and some editing often all actually physically happen in the US. At the same time, though, however, the actual filming, that is increasingly taking place abroad. And Trump is actually correct in saying that other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers and studios away from the United States. But these incentives normally come in the form of tax breaks, which combined with things just getting more expensive in the US have led to a lot of production taking place in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and a few places throughout Europe. And so as a result, thousands of middle-class film workers in the US have reportedly lost work. In fact, according to the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, for example, roughly 18,000 full-time jobs have been eliminated in just the past 3 years, primarily in California. And actually, a very notable thing is that with that, California Governor Gavin Newsom has already proposed a massive tax credit to bring production back to Hollywood. But that is notably an incentive, whereas Trump's proposal, in addition to being super unclear, is an attack. And so among other things, you have people going, would it apply to US companies shooting films abroad? What if only part of it was shot overseas? And would it apply to movies on streaming services and theaters or both? Plus, what about post-production visual effects? effects work. I mean, a single movie can sometimes involve several specialized firms operating all around the world. So we'll have to wait to see, what the administration comes up with and if they carry through and if it's just going to be a mess or not. But then the final thing that I'll touch on for this segment is that Trump posted on Truth Social that he has directed the government to reopen and expand Alcatraz, which if you don't know is just a notorious U.S. prison that's been closed for more than 60 years now. With Trump specifically saying the site, which is on a small island offshore San Francisco, would be used to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders. So of course with that you have people saying, one, well, will due process be involved here? And two, why are you doing this? It does not make sense. Because reportedly Alcatraz is impractical and expensive, and it was closed in 1963 for multiple reasons, including decaying infrastructure and the high cost of repairing and even just supplying a facility that could only be accessed by boat. But hey, just because it doesn't make any sense doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. For now, we'll have to wait to see. But then next up today, we have to talk about how Lady Gaga not only performed a free show at Copacabana Beach in Rio de Janeiro with an estimated 2.5 million people going, which was already huge news because it beat the record for the highest attendance for a concert by a female artist, but there was also a bombing attack that was thwarted. Because while the show went on as scheduled, in the hours before it, at least 2 people were arrested for planning to carry out a major attack, mainly aiming to target children in the LGBTQ+ community. With Brazilian authorities releasing a statement yesterday saying a group has been recruiting participants, including teenagers, to carry out integrated attacks using improvised explosives and Molotov cocktails. And a man who was identified as the leader of the group was arrested for illegal possession of a firearm, and a teenager was also arrested for storing child pornography. With this group having allegedly been operating and spreading hate speech online, and the goal is said to have been to promote the radicalization of adolescents, the dissemination of hate crimes, self-harm, pedophilia, and violent content as a form of belonging and a challenge among young people. With this, we saw 15 search warrants.
I'm gonna stop right there just to pause and say, no, you cannot kidnap kids. I said that as a joke because kidnapping is kind of less worse than bombing them. I don't know. Y'all comment down below whether you'd rather be bombed or kidnapped. Because bombed, depending on the range, is probably a quick death. But kidnapped, you don't know what's going to happen to you. You'd probably be bombed after being kidnapped. Yeah, them 9 people need to be shot
being served against 9 people in cities throughout Brazil. Some reports also saying that members of the group had posed as little monsters, right, Lady Gaga fans, online to lure in young people. And all of this is, even though police said that this was a major operation, because the concert still happened, you had the Associated Press reporting that some have questioned the validity of the threat. With many pointing to how last year, after authorities foiled a terrorist plot at a Taylor Swift show in Austria, her shows there were still canceled for safety reasons. So here you had police saying they didn't publicly share this information about the plot before the show to avoid panic and preventing information from being distorted. And that is, you had Lady Gaga's team saying they weren't even alerted of the threats ahead of time, with a spokesperson telling the Hollywood Reporter, "We learned about this alleged threat via media reports this morning. Prior to and during the show, there were no known safety concerns nor any communication from the police or authorities to Lady Gaga regarding any potential risks." And adding, her team worked closely with law enforcement throughout the planning and execution of the concert, and all parties were confident in the safety measures in place. Which on the note of those safety measures reportedly include strong security presence at the event and over 5,000 military and police officers at the beach. And so all in all, a very scary sounding situation, but luckily the news today is that nothing ended up happening and we just had a record broken. And then, I got more news for you in just a moment, but very quickly, quick self-promo. If you haven't gotten in on it yet, you have 2 days left to get in on Project BB28, which if you missed the announcement, it's all the shirts you've ever wanted, loved, but never got over at beautifulbastard.com for just $28 a pop. Think of BB28 as the Nordstrom rack to Beautiful Bastards Nordstrom. Tons of people, they love and buy our custom cut and sewn Beautiful Bastard shirts made with premium, high quality cotton spandex. I genuinely believe it is the best mid-weight shirt out there for under $100. Well, the business does very well and people love and buy the stuff. I also know that the prices that we have at Beautiful Bastard, it prices some people out. And that's why we're testing Project BB28 until Wednesday at midnight, right? And we're making these shirts with non-BB blanks. They're still very soft. They're also lighter, which I think because it's going to be summertime, perfect timing. And also don't worry, it's not yielding quality. I want people to come back and buy more. So yeah, if there's a tee that you've ever wanted but you've been holding off, get it right now. Because like I mentioned before, at Wednesday at midnight, I'm going to be making all of that private and just kind of look at the data and see what if we ever want to do this again. Right? Is it a seasonal thing? Can it be a permanent sub-brand, or just are we never going to do it again? But again, it's all available right now at beautifulbastard.com. Links in the description. Definitely get in on it. But then next up today, shifting gears to a very different kind of news. It's really drama news. Dr. Lupo, one of the most popular streamers out there, is getting a ton of shit right now after he was caught cheating in a chess tournament last week called PogChamps, which if you've never heard is an event that's put on by chess.com, and it's usually seen as kind of a win-win for everyone. For chess.com, it helps expose a ton of people to chess that otherwise might not have considered it. For the streamers, it's a chance to show themselves off to new audiences and possibly win a decent prize in a relatively low commitment environment. Because it's not like these people are grandmasters that have poured their life into chess, and they're often extremely low rated. And Lupo, he fits that mold perfectly. He's got like a 600 elo, and during the event, he was playing against Wolfie VGC, who's about 1300. So you're talking about a massive difference in skill, and in a game like chess, it usually means that Lupo would never actually beat Wolfie, short of Wolfie really, really fucking up. But that's also not how things started, and during the game, Lupo blundered a queen near the start. So, it looked like this was going to be an easy win for Wolfie until Lupo just managed to play out of his damn mind and win the game. But then people were almost immediately suspicious of the situation. In fact, so much so that Lupo eventually admitted to cheating and pulled out of the tournament. Writing on X, had a ton of fun playing, but have decided to drop out of the main event to help maintain competitive integrity for those involved, as well as attorney organizers. Having the main stream up on my left monitor over the course of the day today to watch other games being played led to me getting move information I shouldn't have had for a game.
I wasn't paying attention, my bad. Damn, he got the whole story. I was not paying attention at all. Hold up. I'm probably gonna drop this as a podcast. No. Yeah. I'm gonna drop this as the fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be my 4th podcast, I think. Not very professional, but you gotta get the content out anyways. So this will be 4. But this pretty lady. Looks, I would say she's probably like, you know, I can't lie. I don't know. She's a really pretty, probably 40-year-old. I wouldn't say she's more than 40. She got grays. Like, there's no way she's younger than 40. Or maybe she's younger than 40. I'll feel really bad if she's 35. But I don't know. I just get the vibe that she's like my parents' age, but is a really pretty white lady. Maybe she's in her 30s. That's kind of what she looks like. But the vibe she gives is like 40s. Like 30s more like, you know, kind of like 20s, you know, a little immature, not really know what's going on. They got something going for them, like, but they're not really like established. She kind of feel like she knows what she got going on. Like she feel like 40s. Definitely not 50s. I would say late 30s, early 40s. That's the range I'm thinking. I could ask her, but I'm not going to. She might see this. She's probably gonna look it up after I ask her about this. I'm probably gonna upload this after I edit it. Probably won't even upload after that. I might just chop it up and put it as like, you know, different clips. I'll probably do the whole video. But dang, if you're seeing this, it's just me vibing by myself. It's not like, you know, I got lots of questions. I don't know. I gotta explain myself. I mean, I kind of do. Not really. People are people. Whatever. I'll finish this and then I'll go back to the video. Hold up. Actually, I did finish the comment. I didn't double check to see if I said anything that, you know, type check, but
definitely get it. Then next up today, shifting gears to a very different kind of news. It's really drama news. Dr. Lupo, one of the most popular streamers out there, is getting a ton of shit right now after he was caught cheating in a chess tournament last week called PogChamps, which, if you've never heard, is an event that's put on by chess.com, and it's usually seen as kind of a win-win for everyone. For chess.com, it helps expose a ton of people to chess that otherwise might not have considered it. For the streamers, it's a chance to show themselves off to new audiences and possibly win a decent prize in a relatively low commitment environment. Because it's not like these people are grandmasters that poured their life into chess, and they're often extremely low rated. And Lupo, he fits that mold perfectly. He's got like a 600 elo, and during the event, he was playing against Wolfie VGC, who's about 1300. So you're talking about a massive difference in skill, and in a game like chess, it usually means that Lupo would never actually beat Wolfie, short of Wolfie really fucking up. But that's also not how things started, and during the game, Lupo blundered a queen near the start. You know, it looked like this was going to be an easy win for Wolfie until Lupo just managed to play out of his damn mind and win the game. But then people were almost immediately suspicious of the situation. In fact, so much so that Lupo eventually admitted to cheating and pulled out of the tournament. Right on X. Had a ton of fun playing, but have decided to drop out of the main event to help maintain competitive integrity for those involved, as well as attorney organizers. Having the main stream up on my left monitor over the course of the day today to watch other games being played led to me getting move information I shouldn't have had for a game. That's on me and no one else. That's my fuck up. I apologize. You'd think I would know better, but here we are. With chess.com also moving in and closing his account for a fair play violation, meaning that he was banned for cheating. But that is not where this story ends, because this was followed up by another creator by the name of Ludwig asking Lupo, streets are saying it was an engine. Are the streets keeping it 99? But then Ludwig later admitting that the streets were grandmaster level players who spoke to him that accused Lupo of using a computer to help him. But saying that, you know, this wasn't, oh, I happened to have this thing open and I couldn't help but look at it, but rather far more involved. But there we saw Lupo deny that, and he even joked that he was helped by anal beads, which is a reference to another cheating scandal where Hans Niemann was accused of cheating and people joked that it was a vibrating sex toy that helped him communicate what moves to play. But either way, you had Lupo going on to say, believe me or not, I played what I played, pulled from chat though, couldn't stop looking, which as I said,
I was not finished. I got distracted by telling y'all I meant to finish. Now I'm done with that.
I know best. You know, people, and I largely mean chess people, this isn't some light shit to them. They take this game serious. And many just were not buying his excuse. So first off, Lupo did like 25 plus perfect moves in a row, which is at that level of chess, it's unreal and it doesn't happen outside of using a computer engine. In fact, it is so out of the ordinary that it stands out like a sore thumb with, for example, Gotham Chess, the largest chess channel on YouTube, putting it this way.
Beginners are very tempted to do stuff like this. Please don't. And the lesson here is just don't do it. Don't do any form of this because it's quite obvious, especially for beginners.
This video pointed to Lupo likely cheating across multiple games. And the moves were so obvious that few were buying Lupo's excuse that he just looked at the chat, and you had Ludwig saying in a video,
he claims that he had the game open, like the stream open, and was reading the stream chat. But part of what you're able to do when you look through somebody's game is judge how quickly they are making their moves. And the time it was taking him to make his moves, a lot of the time when he's making the best move, was quicker even then Twitch chat would be able to input this. Not only that, but Twitch chat also just wasn't saying this.
He then went on to add that on top of this, Twitch chat was almost never giving out the engine's best move, because as you'd expect, it was mostly just chess fans watching the game and throwing out what they think would be the best move. And that's usually done in the form of an annotation. And the annotation, it's not hard to understand once you know it, but Ludwig doesn't believe that Lupo would be able to read it super quickly, considering he's like half of Ludwig's rank, and Ludwig still needs to decipher it in his head. But then all of that bringing us to Friday, and Lupo finally admitted that he cheated with an engine writing. I screwed up big time. The internet has been right basically since the beginning, and it's taken me multiple waves of self-reflection and internal fighting to get to the point where I can fully admit fault without holding back. I lied to the internet repeatedly. I cheated and betrayed the trust of countless people that believed in me. Viewers, family, friends, everyone. I spent a big part of my life being really good at games. When I suddenly wasn't good enough, I lied. People kept asking me why I did it. I think I did it for a false sense of self-validation, to convince myself that I could win when clearly I shouldn't have. You know, he said a lot more in the tweet, but that's essentially it. Though I will say, what was very interesting is that Gotham Chess kind of assumed that this was the reason that Lupo cheated.
Some people do this stuff, like the simul, like this, because chess has this really weird way of just getting like deep inside your soul, and you.
You know why he did this? It's because as a video game player, it becomes like if you've ever been really good at a sport and then not been able to play that sport, you know exactly what he felt. You're like, dang, I know I could do this. I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do. Like, it's not really like them football players who like they don't really got to get. They don't have like the real abilities to get to the next phase. They start taking certain enhancement ability drugs. But like the thing is like he just didn't have the skill set for chess. Chess is a very long form game. Like, you can't just think one move after the other. You have to think 10 moves ahead. Like, you have to think bam, 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 or bam, 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 or bam, 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 bam. I mean, it's different at the beginning. The beginning, you kind of just, do whatever. But, like, after you can create contact with the other player, you got to start thinking of so many other moves. It becomes exponential. That video games just don't give you the time to think about. Like, video games have become so fast and non-personal that, like, you kind of forget about, like, future moves. Because, like, almost any competitive game, you mess up twice, you lose. But chess doesn't mess up twice. It's mess up maybe once, maybe twice, maybe 20 times. But like, it's a back and forth. Video games don't give you back and forth anymore. Like maybe not even like in turn-based games. Cause like even in turn-based games, you kind of get to min-max your stats, but like in chess, it's really just about thinking. And video games don't give you the chance to think. You are just reacting. Like, I feel like he might be able to get into like wrestling, fighting, and you'd be able to just react because like in those really quick things, you don't really gotta think about the long game. It's just about ending this man. I feel like that's what he's good at. But like in the sense of like if it was like a war game, like if it was like I don't think there's many true war games out there. Like you're ordering this group to go here and it's all real time, and it's like if you have the time to tell this group to go here and they're going there at this time, and it's like if there might be a real time war game out there like that. But that's probably something he'd be absolutely trash at because he'd be just full steams ahead. How do I kill this person? How do I kill this person? Like, if it was like a real in-depth, like there's like one person's invading, one person's not, or it's like neutral ground, you're just trying to invade. One person digs traps versus one's like building up guns, and like, I feel like he would lose a game like that, where it's like true logical thinking, he would lose. But in a game where like he's just like, hoo, die, bow, 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 he got that. That's why he cheated. He wasn't ready for a game like this. Chess is kind of the only game like this out there. Because there's too much thinking. I mean, there's like kind of Civ 6. There's a lot of, not Civ, but like Civilization, Civ. I said Civ 6. I think that was the last one I played. But Civ is kind of like that, where like it's like chess in the real world. It's like a world simulation game. But like I don't know, it's a little less. I mean, it's more algorithmic. It's less it's less warlike and more algorithmic. Like, if a group of people just don't like you and they decide to attack you, it's not like you can be like, okay, I'm gonna work on air defense and pitfall. So if they try to invade me, they'll fall and get blown up. It's kind of just like, if I want to attack these people, I'm gonna work on attacking them, attack them. So like, that's kind of why it's not a full war game. And like, he might be able to get at that, but like in a full war game where like you can truly like work on stuff that will just mess up his plans. Like, okay, there's hills here. I gotta make sure he'll go here, and if he goes up there, maybe there's like rocks or something. Like a full war game, he would be trash at. That's why he cheated. Someone needs to make a game like that.
You just feel not good enough, or not intelligent enough, or not, it like really attacks your psyche in many ways.
All in all, that is where we are, though I will say, even after the admission, many are still very, very upset about the situation. That includes very big streamers who weren't involved in the tournament at all, including Asmongold and XQC, who actually came out saying that Lupo should be banned from Twitch over the cheating scandal. Right now, because it is technically covered under Twitch's terms of service, so it is in the realm of possibility. Then, next up today, in some interesting news, I'd like you to meet Brand Laycup. You see, he's the conductor of a 100-piece orchestra in Parma, Ohio, and just before his 60th birthday 11 years ago, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And at first, it was just a twitch in his thumb, but over the years, his symptoms have slowly escalated. With Rand saying about 8 years in, I started experiencing more tremor in my right hand. This was daily and seemed to get worse if I was anxious or nervous. The tremor would really start to be pronounced if I had a deadline coming up for something with the orchestra. And he also started experiencing dyskinesias, which are involuntary movements that pop up as a complication of long-term use of Parkinson's medication. Eventually, Rand wasn't able to control his symptoms with just medication. That is where he learned about deep brain stimulation, or DBS, from a neurologist at the Cleveland Clinic. And the way that deep brain stimulation was described to Rand was like a pacemaker for the brain. Where a device would be planted in his brain to deliver electrical currents to specific parts of the brain to control movement. And those currents would help control the abnormal brain signals that cause Parkinson's symptoms. And so in May of 2024, Rand went forward with DBS. He went under for the surgeries and had the device implanted in his brain, with it then later being activated and set up with a programmer who helped fine-tune the setting in Rand's follow-up appointments. But then for nearly a year, Rand saw success with DBS, and then he heard about a new advancement that could help him even further called ADBS, or adaptive deep brain stimulation. With Rand's neurologist saying traditional DBS gives the same stimulation to the brain 24 hours a day. What makes ADBS different is it can adapt and fine-tune the stimulation in real time. By tracking a certain frequency in the brain, it can increase or decrease the stimulation as needed to better control symptoms. And for Rand, the conductor, that is especially helpful, and according to his programmer, it reduces the risk of him experiencing tremors during a performance if his medication wears off. And as Rand has used ADBS over the last couple of months, his symptoms have continued to improve. With Rand saying, my tremor is almost all gone except if I experience extreme anxiety or stress, and my dyskinesias is pretty well under control. And now, because of all that, Rand is able to move forward into his 47th year of conducting. And this is both he and his neurologist are encouraging people with Parkinson's to ask about deep brain stimulation, with Rand saying, I know the thought of brain surgery can be intimidating, but it's a life-changing procedure that allows you to become your own self again. But that, my friends, is the end of your Monday evening too.
You know what I would have gave him as me? As me, I would have put that man on a weightlifting program. Like, granted, like, you never know. Like, it's possible that weightlifting probably wouldn't have helped him. But like, I don't believe there's anything in this world, at least with your body, that you can't fix with your body. So like, I feel like there's probably some condition where you probably could like train him. Like, oh, if you're holding this weight, your body's still because you're like contracting, you're like holding it. And then you just kind of like build your brain back around that, oh, I'm holding this thing. Like, his problem probably, I don't know if there's any genetic underlying, but I feel like his problem might have been with music. You're so much of reacting. He's not really reacting because he's the conductor. So he's more doing it. But like in his head, it's like the music he's playing in his head, he's like boom, boom, boom. So his hand's already programmed for that. He has to reprogram it for doing exactly what he wants. So it's kind of like, what's he doing? I don't feel like you gotta go get a whole implant in your brain. But yeah, the next thing I was gonna watch. So I'm gonna watch this. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, what we're gonna do is go to Spotify. I started listening to. Dang, it was a while ago. I ain't stopped. Stop being lazy. Dang, was it? There's no way it's this far back. Dang, I didn't get. I didn't even know. I didn't even know he did one. Did I just imagine that? I thought I just read Lex Friedman. I did. Wow, I didn't even know he did another one for Lex Friedman. One of Mark Zuckerberg's alright. I did go too far back though. I know for a fact I did. There it goes. Started listening to this one. He just had so much stuff. I was like, I got the answer. You asking all these questions to Jim. I got your answers, Jordan. I got your answers, Jordan. I promise. I mean, I don't
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day.
You could throw that out. I'm gonna teach y'all.
No. I'm too vain. That's exactly right. I look back and I think, oh, those headphones are pushing up my hair. Isn't that sad? That's so
shave
sad.
your head.
That's sad.
You never look back if you do.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's freedom.
I have a big dent here from when a meteorite landed on me when I was a kid.
A meteorite?
Yeah.
Oh, funny story.
I know.
I've got plenty of cuts on my head. I got them all over the place.
Well, you're looking pretty unscarred.
Oh, the back of my head. I have one when I was a little kid. It's pretty big. That one of these cranes that lifts up sewer pipes. Those big concrete pipes banged me off the back of the head. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
Grayed out. Went to the hospital.
Were you a different person before that experience?
I don't know. I mean, you'd have to talk to my mom. I was always a little
This
wild.
could be of autobiographical significance. You
Oh,
know?
there's definitely a lot of head trauma.
Were you knocked
with my
out?
personality. No.
Okay,
I stayed
that's
conscious, but I got
that's
close.
That's the big predictor.
I got gray. I grayed out that I came back to. I didn't completely go unconscious. So Jamie went golfing this weekend with O.J. Simpson's golf clubs.
Uh-oh.
Not with O.J. He's not here.
Exercise. That would be the next step.
Jamie bought O.J. Simpson's golf clubs after he
This
died.
is like a childhood dream?
No, they were just for sale. I saw them for sale. I said, why not? They came in. I wanted some big grips.
Yeah,
They weren't that
a couple of my friends. What did Shane get? Shane got a bunch of
I
stuff,
talked
right?
him into buying some stuff, yeah.
He got like scarves and
Ties. He bought a bunch of ties.
I think scarves too.
Okay. He bought a trophy.
A trophy?
And a Bill Clinton
Yeah.
signed photo.
And he spent thousands of dollars.
What was this? Was this some sort of O.J. Simpson auction?
Yeah, it was like an estate sale, yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
You know, he's dead now, so you can get his stuff.
Right, for nothing. Pennies on the dollar.
Well, I mean, only people like Jamie and Shane
arguable.
are dumb enough to buy it. It's like for a goof. It's one of those things like you're either getting it for a goof or you're a very dark person.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't want to own it, even for a goof. Like if I found OJ played pool, I wouldn't want his cue.
Was there cues? No, there wasn't. There was a weird notebook that Robert Kardashian had like handwritten stuff to him.
Blood
I
splattered
was like,
on
whoa,
it.
that might be interesting. But
It's taking a vicious turn, Joe, already.
Yeah, that's a dark story.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you only know the surface of it.
Well, it's dark in both ways. It's also dark in planted evidence. You know, there was blood at the scene of the crime that had preservative in it, allegedly, supposedly, according to Robert Kardashian, and according to, I believe, the forensic scientists when they analyzed it. It matched OJ's blood, but they had to draw blood from OJ in order to determine whether or not it was his blood that was at the scene of the crime, and some of the blood found at the scene of the crime had that preservative in it that they use. They were sloppy in the 90s, you know.
Compared to now.
Well, there was no DNA evidence back then. You know, cops were there. There's always going to be a certain percentage of cops that just want to convict somebody regardless of the evidence. And if they're, in their mind, they believe someone's guilty, they'll do whatever they can, including planting evidence, I guess. At least that's allegedly. Not that I don't think he did it. I definitely think he did it. But I also think the cops planted evidence, which is probably at least partially why he got off, you know.
Mm.
I think the big reason why he got off was Rodney King, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Have you gone into the
Rodney
whole George
King,
Floyd story at all? Have you ever looked at?
I wouldn't have fully understood what he meant by he got off because Rodney King until, but my dad told me the story where I don't know if he ever said it on the channel, but he could defend himself, but he was at this club if for some reason like a fight broke out and he had his camcorder out and he was like Rodney King and it just like broke out into a giant brawl and he just enjoyed it and then escaped with no consequences. That's just how I remembered it. That's probably not how it went down, but that's how I remember him telling it to me.
Like what they actually did to him.
It's like not even how I remember him telling it to me. That's just what I took from it.
Combination of things. Like what the cop did was horrible, but also he was dying. You know, like most people probably, like if they did that to you, you probably would have lived. You know, that guy had a
That was
large
my
heart.
understanding
He
of
was
it, yeah.
fucked up, but that cop did lean on his neck, which is always interesting to see people try to minimize that. You know, I'm always like, you got to be able to just say what it is.
Well, that situation can be ugly in a multitude of ways.
Yes.
Right. That's when things get, well, that's when it's very difficult to pick your moral pathway forward. All your choices are not good.
Yes,
right?
which is oftentimes the case when it comes to conflicts, right?
Yes.
Conflicts are very complicated, and people want it to be binary. They want there to be a good guy and a bad guy, and that's oftentimes not really the case.
Well, it's hard to organize yourself for combat unless you are quite convinced that you're the good guy. So there's a default to that dichotomy that's a necessary part of, well, even standing your own ground, right? Because otherwise you get demoralized. And so I suppose people, well, when they're threatened, they default to a simple narrative, and because that's, you can't defend yourself. In some ways, it's very hard to defend yourself, especially physically or militarily, without a pretty cut and dried narrative.
Well, especially like military operatives, you know, you have to have a very your life and the people that you're with, their life depends on you not having any confusion about whether or not it's morally correct to be doing what you're doing. That's why they like to break it down to kill bad dudes. You know, kill bad dudes.
Right.
Real simple. Let's go. They tell us what to do, we do it. Which is what you want to stay alive. You want your teammates to stay alive. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, well, you never know when doubt will cause a fraction of a second difference in reaction time.
Oh, yeah. That's always the thing with physical altercations with people, too. You know, oftentimes people get sucked into these things where they're not sure whether to act or not act, and that's when they get in trouble.
Right.
You know.
Right. That's probably true in life. You don't want to oversimplify things, too, but once you've made a decision, well, that's when it's necessary to put doubts behind you, because otherwise you just act in half measures.
Yeah, and oftentimes you have to have done the wrong thing before, like failed to act or hesitated to act, and it cost you. And then you have to learn that lesson. It's very difficult to like know that without experiencing mistakes. You know, you have to have failed to act and then realize, oh, I should have done something there.
Yeah, well, I think that's partly too one of the things that I often faced in my clinical practice and with the students that I mentored was this confusion about acting. I don't know what to do, so what should I do? Well, nothing. I'll wait around until I figure out what to do. It's like, no, you should put together a bad plan and you should implement it, because even if you fail in the implementation, you'll gather information and then you can rectify the plan.
It's a lazy clip, but I agree with that, because you kind of do, like, when addressed with infinity or the ever expanding amount of options that you just don't know what to do, the only option is to do what you want. And what you should want to do is just create a plan to get out of your situation. And even if it fails, you will have more information than you had to begin with. So you'll have more information to get out of the situation you're in. So, lazy clip, but I agree with that. Very much so.
Staying in that malaise until you know what to do makes you get older and more miserable, and you gather no information along the way. A bad plan is a good idea. Best, any plan is better than none. That's a good rule of thumb. And a bad plan can be incrementally improved.
Yeah.
Right? With experience.
Right. He who hesitates is lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really difficult for young people. I think more so today than ever at any time in history, because the distractions are so many and they're so engrossing. You know, if you get out of high school, you don't know what to do, and then you start playing video games and you're on social media, a day can slip by like that.
Yeah.
A day becomes a week, becomes a month, becomes a year, and before you know it, you're 30.
Yeah, right.
And you haven't done shit.
Yeah.
And that's really common. That's really common today. And I don't think we can ignore those factors, the factors of just engrossing distractions.
Yeah, well, and the algorithms optimize for short-term attention. So, it's a weird thing, because you could imagine that you would want a machine that offers you what you want, right? Because you want ads that are targeted to you, because you want to see a bunch of ads that aren't relevant to you now and then, because maybe you'll learn something. And content, well, why not have a machine shovel the same sort of things that you are interested in at you.
Yes.
That's a kind of curation. The problem comes, and we haven't figured this out at all technically, and probably not psychologically. The problem comes in time frame, right? Because there's a big difference between what you might be interested in if you were diligently striving towards a long-term goal that required conscientiousness, and what's going to attract your attention right now, this moment.
Right.
And the thing about the algorithms is that they maximize for short-term attention, and so basically they're actually optimizing for hedonism.
Yeah.
Okay, I probably should let him continue with his thought, but my current thought is he is right, because the problem with the world is most people don't have a plan. They have no idea what the world is or how to interact with it, and there's too much to they're like, oh my gosh, there's too much to do. Like, what do I do? I mean, there's a lot of people who can be like, okay, I just gotta get a job, invest that money again, invest that money again, invest that money again. But there's a lot of people who are like, I don't care about money. I just really like to draw. Or I just really like to sing. Or I just really like to run. Or I just really like to play this sport. Or I just really like to work out. Like, and those people are really the people who struggle in school, because when it comes to learning, you can only learn what you want to learn. Like you accidentally learn stuff. You'll remember it down the way, but you'll forget it longer down the way because you didn't want to remember it. You have other stuff to remember. If your job is to do flips all your life and teach people how to do flips, why do you need to remember what year the government was established? Maybe technically, okay, yeah, that's a good thing to know, but in pure logical sense, it don't matter what year it was created. I mean, maybe in reference to other years and things that were happening, years before the Articles of Confederation were created, years before Emancipation Proclamation, years before I think it was I forget what it was that officially announced independence. Was it Independence Proclamation? Whatever initially pronounced us away from England. I could see maybe it helping with knowledge, but at the end of the day, if you're logical, you don't really need to know the past. Just know why it failed. England failed because the kings try to dominate people's minds. You can't dominate people's minds. What people want to do is what they're gonna do. That's just how the world is, and that's why America is great, because it created a system where more people could do what they wanted than ever before. Because in any other part of the world, state by state, because we see America as one country, but you have to remember, each state in America is the size of a country in the rest of the world. So an American state is kind of each American state. You can kind of go there and just do whatever you want. Fine, whether it's singing, dancing, cooking, cleaning, architecture. You just find that situation and go up through the system. Only problem is there's a system, and it's not just is. So people come to America oh yeah, the American dream. And theoretically, yeah, you come here, follow the path, and you can achieve the American dream. But that's not how it actually works. It is how you actually work. If you stay in line all the way through. But if you're a real person, you're not gonna make it all the way through. And when you do make it all the way through, you become this thing where you're not really a person. You're this thing that became this thing for this thing. And you're you're not really a human. You're this corporate entity. And people don't really mess with you. But I kind of forgot what I was arguing.
And then you might say, well, so what? Because you're getting what you want. Well, the problem with short-term impulsive hedonists is that they maximize the difference between what you might be interested in if you were diligently striving towards a long-term goal.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, when you're against affinity, the only thing is to do what you want to get out of the situation you're in, or to do more things that you want. And because so many people don't know what they want to do in this world, they just get distracted by so many things. But if you have like something you want to do, you're not distracted by nothing. And that's the problem with this world. They don't give you anything. They don't feed you anything where you're like you really like, okay, I'm gonna go do this thing. It's not like they're inspiring you to go. I mean, maybe some people they inspire you to do crochet or go write some books or like create something. But like most of the algorithm is like just to create, like loop you into the algorithm.
Goal that required conscientiousness and what's going to attract your attention right now, this moment.
Right.
And the thing about the algorithms is that they maximize for short-term attention, and so basically they're actually optimizing for hedonism.
Yeah.
And then you might say, well, so what? Because you're getting what you want. Well, the problem with short-term impulsive hedonism is it doesn't play out well over any reasonable time span.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why you have to mature, which is painful and annoying, but absolutely necessary and much better than the alternative. The alternative is exactly that's Peter Pan, right?
Yeah.
30-year-old, I still haven't grown up, and
yeah,
I'm a little past my shelf life now too.
I think people are afraid of losing fun. They think that when you grow up, you lose fun, but it's silly. It's not true. You can grow up and still have fun. You know, you just have to. You have to have discipline and prioritize your time. You know, like,
well, that's why Christ says to people that they have to become as little children, not stay. Right, you have to rediscover that.
Rediscover the joy of it. Yeah, but
well,
also
and kids are good for that too, aren't they? Because
Sure.
they teach you that again. You look at the world through eyes of memory by the time you're an adult, so the world loses its freshness. That's part of the world loses its freshness because you see your memories instead of the world.
Right.
And then kids come along and you think, oh yeah, that's really actually quite interesting. And they're so compelled by everything because their perceptions are so fresh that they share that with you, and that can help reawaken that spirit of childhood play, let's say. I've been thinking a lot about play in the last year or so.
Yeah.
Well, I spent a lot of time trying to take apart the causes of like truly pathological degeneration, right? On the sadistic side, on the criminal side, on the totalitarian side. Very curious about tyranny. And it was very difficult for me to conceptualize the opposite of that as cleanly as I could characterize its presence. Like, what's the opposite of tyranny? It's not freedom, by the way. It's certainly not anarchic freedom. It's not hedonistic freedom.
Benevolence?
I think it's play.
Play.
I think it's play.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
that makes sense.
Well, the developmental psychologist Jean Piaget, one of the things he pointed out was that play, so let's say play is the foundation of micro-community, right? When you're a little kid, you play a game with another kid. And then if that works well, you inhabit a little dyadic community. You're both in it together. And then if it really works, you replicate that across time, and that gives you a friend. But play is very interesting psychologically and psychobiologically because it has to be entered in voluntarily. You can't force someone to play. And it's also motivationally fragile. So mammals have a play circuit, and it can be disrupted by pretty much any other motivational or emotional circuit. So the circumstances have to be set up properly. Like the walled garden, you know that idea? The walled garden is a place that play can take place, like eternally, so to speak. And because it has to be undertaken voluntarily, it's the opposite of tyranny. And like my wife and I have really started to apply this in our marriage more consciously. You know, once I'd figured out this relationship, because I've been lecturing to people for a long time about how to conduct themselves in life so they don't become a tyrant or a handmaiden to the tyrants, right? A silent handmaiden to the tyrants, let's say. And aiming at play. You know, when we walked in here today, one of the things we said was, let's have some fun, you know?
Yeah.
And I've been thinking this morning too about what attitude I should take coming in to talk to you. And there isn't a better attitude than play. And I think it is because it's the antithesis of tyranny in particular. And then you were talking more about mature play. And that's that good, you know, that also makes sense. This is the issue with the idea that adulthood isn't any fun. It's like, well, do you want to play a simple game? Or do you want to play a really sophisticated game really well?
See, I think He is not allowing himself to understand what. Well, before we get into that, I'm gonna take a little break. 'Cause I'm a little parched. This is, I mean, it's not sponsored, but Dr. Death. I mean, Death, Dr. Death. Liquid Death, Dr. Death. My homeboy said it tastes like Dr. Pepper, but sparkling water flavored. We're gonna see if they was telling the truth. Here we said. Interesting. Yeah, I don't really mess with that too tough. To be honest. Like, one, I've never been a fan of sparkling water to begin with. Two, it's pretty much like a sparkling water with the flavor of Dr. Pepper. I mean, that is literally what it says. It is Dr. Death flavored sparkling water. But it's like, when you expect flavor, you kind of expect it on your tongue. It's pretty much like you feel the sparkling water hit your tongue. You're like, man, sparkling water. I mean, you can feel like a little bit of like sweetness over your tongue, like a little bit, about 2 grams added sugars per can. About that's about what I feel like. A little bit of sweetness over your tongue, but then you get the flavor of Dr. Pepper like after. It's like the aftertaste of Dr. Pepper. A little smells like Dr. Pepper. In your mouth, it don't taste like Dr. Pepper, but after you drink it, you're like, oh, I feel like I just drank Dr. Pepper. So like at this, I don't really. That was mid. I don't mess with that too tough. But back to the play thing. He's not allowing himself to understand what play really is, because play is not really caring whether you succeed or fail. You just want to know what happens. It is a place of ignorance where you're just having fun. Because, like, the thing about when you become smart is you know what's going to happen. So you are less likely to do random things. You're more specific with your actions. But when you could take the chance and just like, I don't know what's going to happen. Let's just do this. And then just play around. That's what play is. That's what joy, that's where the fun in life comes from. Not just like, oh, I know what's going to happen. Like, you ever like be like watching a movie with someone and they like predict what's going to happen instead of just like watching everything happen? They take the joy out of it. But like people who just like, just let it happen, like, whoa, wow, that's exciting. Like it's the non-expectations of life that makes fun play. You kind of just want to see what happens. You'll be at least mildly entertained regardless of what happens.
Now, that's going to require some discipline and some training and some maturation, but the payoff is much higher. That's a good way to conceptualize marriage.
The highs are higher when you're successful.
Well, and also the people who have the most sex now are religious married couples.
Really?
Yeah, I know. Isn't that funny?
Which religion?
It's like, yeah, good question.
You know why this is, in my opinion? It is so hard to get a legitimate relationship outside of Christianity in America. I mean, maybe in other religions it is also easier to get a relationship, but Christianity is prevalent in America, and if you're not Christian, like you have to think about it. As a Christian, like for my non-Christian, or like for everybody, as a Christian, you wake up on a Monday morning, wake up, go to work, you go about your life as a normal day. It's probably not a lot of people you really mess with too much. But on the weekend, whether Saturday or Sunday, or on a Wednesday, you go to a group of people who think like you, and y'all could just, oh, we think alike, let's just go on the same path together. And that's how relationships should work. You're on the same path, just join together and go on the same path together. You can explore other paths together, but like you're already on the same path, you just, take steps on together, like hoo hoo hoo, little juke steps onto the other ones with together. But like as non-Christians, say you just wake up, you go to work, you don't mess with anybody, and you go home. Then what? You just go out into the world, and then go out and think about going out into the world. Yeah, there's like places like bars but there's those places invite people who can't be in relationships, not haven't been able to find relationships. So like you go there and you just like become partnered with these people who like there's actually something wrong with them and they just haven't figured it out yet, and then you get looped in with them and then like you're trying to fix them, or like it's like that's not the situation normal people should be in. Like bars kind of should be for those people at rock bottom, like they just got cheated on, or like they're about to be divorced, like rock bottom, like you're like, okay, let me let me drink you away. I've tried Jack, I've tried Jim, I've tried all of them drinks, but I can't drink you away. All these rocks I can't swim, out of these flames I'm doing anything. Tell me, baby, and do they make a medicine for heartbreak? So tell me, baby. But what was I talking about? Playing. I don't remember. I'll continue.
Joe, good question. Well, I guess in the West that would obviously be Christianity, but it's an interesting case example of the sorts of things.
Yeah, if you don't really mess with anybody, there's not really many places to meet someone who is on your plane of thinking. Like, say you're a normal person, you're creative, you like video games. Like the average person who kind of generally likes doing everything, but hasn't found a route to getting paid for it, and like, or really haven't really thought about it. There's so many people like that, and there's not places where you can meet other people like you, where you can be like, okay, we do this thing, maybe we can like try coordinating streaming events, try to get a following. There's not really many, like you go to Comic-Con, but when you go to Comic-Con, it's kind of just awkward. It's like, when you go to Comic-Con, you're kind of going there with you and your homies, so like you're kind of on a path. It's weird to pull people off their path, like, hey, you want to come on my path? But like, say there was like in Japan, for example, like they'll have, I mean, this is just, anime presumptions of Japan, but like they'll have competitions where like, you go to the local gaming place and like it would be like team versus team, and like you just like naturally play with people and like, oh yeah, we do this thing every once in a while, and like you meet people and you just naturally meet people doing things you want to do. I mean, I guess kinda in America you can do that. I mean, yeah, you can, but it's like not really, cause like most of the places where you can meet someone along the path of like what you're doing is sports related, and when you're doing sports related stuff, you're there to do sports, and you're just like you're there trying to like flirt with somebody while you're like tackling them, it's not gonna end out well. So like, there's really not like you go to the gym. Like a lot of people meet their girls and guys at the gym, but it's like yeah, I would want to fuck with a girl at the gym. But at the same time, if I was really into my workout and a girl just came up and talked to me, I would be kind of annoyed because like I'm already doing what I'm doing. I don't care what you're doing. Like I would have came and talked to you if I wanted to know what you're doing. Like I mean, it's understandable, but like America just needs more places outside of church and school where you just naturally can talk to people without it being a thing. Like some type of coordinated event, like I don't know. There's not a normal coordinated event for normal people. Like there's churches, schools, groups. But it's not just like a normal like everyday person like, hey, let's go to the conversation party and you just go and just talk to people. And you just naturally say, hey, what are you talking about? And you see someone not talking, you just go talk to them. Like that'd be something. I don't know.
We're talking about, because you can imagine at the dawn of the sexual revolution, when the birth control pill became prevalent, that the last hypothesis anyone would have possibly generated was that the cascading consequences of that over 50 years would be, well, radical increase in pornography use because sex has been made less dangerous by the pill, and that the people who were having the most sex would be religious married couples.
Right, but is that true? Because like pornography essentially was very difficult to acquire before the birth control pill was invented.
True.
Right,
but
you used to have to go somewhere to get the pornography. Isn't part of the excess use of pornography just the access is so instantaneous now?
Oh, definitely. But you could imagine, too, that you might have hypothesized that if the birth control pill took the threat out of sex, that pornography would be less necessary. But that didn't seem to work out.
Right.
So it's certainly the availability is.
We would never know though, because the birth control was, when was it? 1960 something.
That's really when it
somewhere
started.
around
When it started to ramp up, let's say.
It's so crazy because it completely changed the dynamic. Women could have sex for recreation with people that they didn't even know and not have any consequences in terms of like having to carry that person's child. Whereas that was always a giant fear. If you're a woman, in the back of your head, every time you have sex, you possibly could be taking care of a child for the next 18 plus years.
Yeah. Well, that
every time.
Right.
It's like this thing. This is a consequential thing. Where with a guy, it's like you have this biological imperative to spread your seed. But you're not thinking about making babies, right? You're thinking about sexual activity. When a guy's having sex, he's not thinking, I can't wait to make a baby. You're just thinking, boy, sex is going to be great. I'm excited. Oh, boy, that's fun. You're not thinking, I'm making a kid. Because that would make you hesitant, and nature's not interested in hesitation. Nature's like, no. Let's just make you dumb as fuck for about 20 minutes and focus on one goal.
So why did you get married?
Well, I love my wife. She wanted to get married. We had a child. It seemed like a good thing to do. It's like, at a certain point in time, making a baby is more of a commitment than getting married. You made a life, you know? Like, the commitment of getting married seemed...
Right.
Of course. But it's also...
But why did you stay committed then before the marriage once you had a child?
I just
now,
think
you said
it's
you
a
loved
thing to
your wife.
do. I love her. It's a thing to do. It's a... Life in raising a child became everything. It becomes a very different thing, right? I think I have a lot of friends who don't have kids, and I'm not the type of person that thinks everyone should have a kid. You know, I know a lot of people with kids, they do say that. I don't think everyone should have a kid. I think you should do whatever you want. I don't know how your brain works. I assume your brain works along similar lines with me, but there's a thing that happens when you
scary thought, Joel.
Well, similar lines. Similar.
Okay,
I think we all share
okay.
similar lines. There's an empathy that comes from having a child that's so different. And an understanding that we are all babies that grew up. We all start off as these bundles of potential and genetics. And then we're influenced by so many different things. There's so many different factors. But I used to think of people as being grown up all the time. And then when I had kids, I was like, oh, we're all just babies. We're all just babies that have just been alive for a long time. You know, everyone started out as a baby. And it just profoundly changed the way I interact with people. The amount of compassion I have for people, the amount of charity that I have for people, the charitable way in which I think about them when they do something or they say something. I give people the benefit of the doubt way more.
I have no idea.
Dave Chappelle said this to me once at the Comedy Store, and it was very profound. He said, having children didn't just change the amount of love I have, it changed my capacity for love. And I was like, ooh, that's it. You just nailed it. You just nailed it. You know, because well, there's private moments when you talk to people about their children, about having children, and what that's like. It's a very psychedelic experience.
That would be another reason why the family with children is the foundation of the community. It has to be the foundation of the community. I mean, it's kind of obvious from a biological perspective.
Yeah.
Let's say, no children, no community. But there's no reason to assume that you wouldn't get radically better at something with necessity and practice. And if you're practicing loving your infant and your child, well, why wouldn't that generalize? Why
Sure,
would that
but
capacity develop?
It's not like a practice. It's like an overwhelming desire that comes about, like the love you have for your child is like, it's not like anything else. It's very different. It's very.
Yeah.
My friend Jim Brewer said this once. He said, when I had a child, that's when I really understood murder. Really understood like my capacity to defend my child is like I never understood like how could somebody kill somebody before. He was like, oh, now I get it. Now I get it. And you know that's real too. And that's also tribal, right? So it's not just your child; it's the child of everyone around you in your tribe. And then you think that you are being invaded by an oncoming tribe, and genetics and history dictates you have to be insanely ruthless to fight off that tribe. There's no other way for survival, which is really wild, right? Because those people have that same feeling towards their children. It's like that Sting line, if the Russians love their children too. This episode is brought to you by Paleo Valley. Are you looking for a great tasting snack that is absolutely protein packed? Oppenheimer and always the thing. This is
yes.
I presume you do as well.
Plays like I've talked
/Rogan and use the promo code Rogan to get 20% off your first order.
So that love that you talk about with regard to your wife, you know, I asked you a little bit about that. It's like I've talked to people who they can't understand how someone could be with the same woman indefinitely, let's say. Or these are people who usually haven't been able to establish that within their own life. And of course, the price you pay, assuming it's a price, for foregoing all others is that, well, that's exactly it. It's a major sacrifice. And so what role do you think that love plays? Like, how do you conceptualize the relationship between that love that you described and that willingness to stay in a permanent relationship and the willingness also to not pursue any other women? How do you understand? How does that make itself manifest in your life? I mean, I presume that you know, you had opportunities of all sorts.
I presume you do as well.
In principle, I suppose they don't seem to
You're
come
a hot
to me in a
professor
sense.
type character.
And
Back in the
nothing-
day, guys like you would be banging their grad students. Not guys like you, but guys in your
Yeah,
position.
yeah, well, there
right?
were guys
Wasn't that always the
that-
thing? This is
yes.
a fascinating aspect of
I seem to
academia.
shut that off pretty much at the beginning. Eh?
Well, they seem to have completely stopped that. Like if you go back to Feynman and Oppenheimer and famous scientists were notoriously playboys, which is really interesting because it's like these wild, innovative people were essentially like intellectual rock stars, right? And then somehow or another that just got stopped. Like if you were a professor in the 1960s, like the girls would be wooing the professor. They would be excited. These 22-year-old graduate students would be so excited to be talking to this like incredibly famous intellectual. And they all, you know, were ladies' men. Like Feynman was like famous for chasing skirts. That was like part of the thing. He does a lot of math and chases skirts. You know, that is a giant distraction to people that are trying to get things done in life. And it's also a distraction from your own personal development, I think. I think you could be with the wrong person and want to be with other people, and that makes sense. But really what that is you should not be with that person anymore, which is unfortunately the case. Like, there's a lot of guys who wind up with really hot women who are out of their fucking mind, and a lot of women who wind up with really hot men who are not what they thought they were going to be, you know? And if you find yourself in this situation where you're with this pathological person and you're trying to make it work and you realize at a certain point in time, like, I'm not going to make it work. Like, you have to be able to just, like, jump ship. That's why people are hesitant to get married. That's what really dangerous about marriage. It's not like being with one person you really love being with. Like, I really love being with my wife. She's fun. Like, we have date nights all the time. We have a lot of fun. You know, we really do. It's enjoyable. But
why did you decide to set up date nights? How did you go about that? I mean, I know that's personal, and I don't want all the gory details.
No, it's really simple. We just enjoy hanging out together. We have a lot of laughs, and so we just said, like, it's kind of important because I'm so fucking busy. that we schedule time that's just unavoidable. Like this is what we're doing. We're going to do this, and then we
I
do
do
it.
that
and
with
then,
Tammy too.
Yeah,
we've done that for like 30 years.
I think most married couples will tell you that that's important. Most married couples will tell you that that's kind of the secret. And it's the secret is
it's also the best thing, as well as being the secret.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Like if the person that you're with is fun, that's the real problem. Is that sometimes people they pick people that are hot. That's it. You know, hot and willing and nice enough. Nice enough to be around. Then you deal with all the other crazy nonsense, and you're setting yourself up. I've had many friends ruin their fucking lives, and then they go through divorces. And you've said this best, that one of the things that women are very good at is reputation destruction. I've seen that happen. So imagine you are legally entangled with someone who at one point in time you loved intimately, and now that person is trying to destroy every aspect of your life, and you have to pay for their lawyers. So you have to pay for the general of the army that's trying to destroy your kingdom. And I've seen this happen to many of my friends. And that is why people are afraid of marriage. That's why people are afraid of commitment. Because the disastrous implications of like what can happen if it goes sideways. Like what can happen if you wind up hating each other? And what can happen if you just lie to yourself and you trick you, like some of the hesitation that I had for getting married is most of my friends that got married when I was young all went through horrible divorces. When I was on news radio, Dave Foley, Stephen Root, and Phil Hartman were all going through it in different levels of psychosis. Obviously, Phil Hartman's being the worst because his wife shot him when he was leaving her, by the way. He decided to leave her, and he tried to leave her a few times. And she shot him in his sleep, and then she shot herself. It's a horrible, horrible story. But Stephen Root went through it, and they'd confide in me. I'd be like, oh, Jesus Christ. The amount of money these women were trying to get from them when they knew that they couldn't afford this. So one of the dirty tricks that will happen with divorce lawyers, with people that are on sitcoms, is when you get on a sitcom, if you're an actor, and you get on a sitcom, it is the most stable job, the greatest job in show business for a lot of them. Because you're going to get a steady check. You're going to do 24, maybe 26 episodes a year. You're making more money than you've ever made in your whole life. But then you get divorced. So what happens is it gets set up where your ex-wife wants a percentage of what you're making at this very unrealistic level, where you're never going to achieve this again. And for Dave Foley, it was so bad that at one point in time, I don't believe he was allowed to go back to Canada. I don't know if that's changed, but the judge literally told him, when he told the judge, like, I don't have that kind of money anymore. I don't have the potential for earning. I was on a hit sitcom, like not even a hit sitcom, but I was on a sitcom on NBC, paid a lot of money, and that was the only time I made that kind of money. The judge said to him, your obligation to pay has no relation to your ability to pay. That's Canadian judges for you.
That's ridiculous. One, I don't know. Birth, I mean, I can understand child support. It makes sense. But at the same time, if I say I want to have an abortion and you choose to have the baby anyways, I should be free of obligations. But at the same time, if I want to take care of that baby, but I just don't got the ability to, you shouldn't be able to make me go out of my way to take care of the baby. Like, I mean, I'll try my best. Try my best. But $30 would have ended all of our problems. Maybe 20 in some places, 50 at some. I think it was 50 the one time I looked into it. I don't know why I said 20. 20 just seems like a good number.
Just insane. You know,
those are words you never want to hear even once in your life.
I love him. So I was going through this pain, not like he was, but just like, oh my God. So these three people that I was very close to. And then most of the other people that I knew. You know, I knew so many people. Fortunately, my mother and my stepfather have a great relationship, and they have for a long time. So I had that modeled. Like, they were always very close. And they didn't fight, which is really nice. It was really nice to have that as a model. You know, like where I realized, okay, everybody's not at each other's throats all the time. And some people actually do enjoy spending time together.
You know, Tammy and I, on the tour, she started to introduce me 2 years ago and to talk about some of the things we're doing in the family, some of our family business, talk about Peterson Academy, talk about essay. And so she'd go out on the stage. And
Was
then-
that the first time she had ever gone on stage in front of you? Do enormous crowds.
Yeah, well, so first of all, she did that, and then we replaced the business discussion because we were just doing an update about the family, you know, and so she do that. We replaced that with ads, and then she started to talk. She talked about the rules, say in 12 Rules for Life, or some of the religious things I've been dealing with lately, and she'd relate that to something in her own life. And then she does the Q&A at the end of the lecture. And part of that was just she was along with me, and part of that was Michaela was introducing me for a while and then had to go back to her work. And so we slotted Tammy in because it seemed like a good business decision. But one of the things we figured out very quickly that was really a shock to us was that people really liked, especially the Q&As, because what people will offer their questions electronically on this platform called Slido, which is a very good platform for such things. And then they could upvote the questions, and then Tammy would sort them and ask me questions kind of from the top down that were thematically relevant to the lecture that I had given. But we found very quickly that people really liked that because they hadn't seen a couple engage in civilized discussion ever. Seriously, like
Yeah,
it was
there's a
really
lot of that out there.
It was really shocking, Joe. Like, you know, I was shocked when I first started touring by how demoralized people were. Like that was really striking and painful to see that on such a mass scale, and then also to see how little encouragement it took to have a really major effect. I mean, there's a positive aspect to that too, but there's also a tragic aspect. It's like, you mean you just need to have some encouragement, and that was enough, and you never got that, like even once? That's rough when you see that in thousands of people.
Right.
And it was the same thing. We found it was the same thing with regards to seeing a functional couple, at least even that model, because, you know, Tammy asked me questions, and she thinks about the questions, and then sometimes she comments, but not that much. But she actually listens to the answers, and she wants to hear the answer. And so, and that dynamic is being played out on stage, and people found that very heartening. And well, that shows you, well, you said, you know, yourself, and this is why I brought it up, because you had the example from your stepfather and your mom of this long-term relationship that worked. I mean, how the hell do you orient yourself if you haven't seen that anywhere?
Right, and then you consider relationships just like all the bad ones, and like you're going to be burdened and locked into that. Did you ever see that video where Alec Baldwin and his wife are on the red carpet, and they're being interviewed, and they're asking them questions, and the wife starts talking, and Alex chimes in about something, and she said, "You're not talking, I'm talking. When I'm talking, you're not talking." On camera. And you watch this, you're like, yo, that's what everyone's scared of.
Right.
That's
right,
what
definitely.
You want to talk
competition.
about like tyranny. The tyranny of being trapped in a relationship like that is like, ugh. And sometimes one person is so overbearing that the other person just sort of submits to it, right? And then you're just like, I don't want to fight. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. And so then you're just trapped, and this person's insulting you and humiliating you publicly. That was the case with Phil Hartman. I got to see that. We would all go, like, we went to a party once, and I remember she was talking about ex-boyfriends, that she loves pickup trucks because her ex-boyfriends had pickup trucks, and they would climb into the back of these pickup trucks. And I was like, what the fuck? But she was doing it on purpose to like make him squirm and make him uncomfortable. And she would say things like, talk about how he's old. Oh, he's old. He doesn't, he doesn't like to do anything. It was just public humiliation in front of friends, where you're in this like arena where he can't say anything.
Yeah.
He can't just go, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, why are you talking to me like that? Like, why are we doing this? He can't do that because he's public and he's out with us.
Maybe he should do it anyways.
Probably should do it anyways.
Yeah, probably.
But we're all out, and Phil was all about like appearances. How things looked. One of the things that he was afraid of with getting married was that he was just starting to break into films, and a lot of the films that he was doing were very like family-friendly films, and it helped that he was a family man. If he was
so he had an act he had to sustain too.
He had an image, right? And this was critical in Hollywood. Like, they had ideas of who you were. Okay, you're a family man. Okay, good. And so if you have this radical change in your life where no longer you're a family man, and if you want to be honest about it, and you want to say, I was in a toxic relationship, and some of it was me, and some of it was her, and this is what happened, like, whoa, now you're opening up the world to this big can of worms. Better to keep that can sealed.
Yeah, well, it's generally better not to have your fights in public, and it's certainly better. I've been thinking about this commandment to honor your mother and father, and I've been thinking about what that means. I read this book called Angela's Ashes by Frank McCourt, and Frank had a really alcoholic father, like an Irish alcoholic father back in the 40s. Oh yeah, and he drank every cent the family had, and they lived in terrible poverty. And his sister died, and like it was rough. But he said his father was often sober in the morning, and and he established a relationship with like good morning sober father and kind of put alcoholic, drunken, nighttime father in a different bin, and he could get the benefit of having a father in consequence of that. And that honoring, that's also something that you want to do within a marriage, right? Because your wife is your friend and your lover, but she's also your wife, and you're her husband, and that means that a part of keeping that marriage working is honor. And part of the honor is that you don't do that sort of thing in public.
Right.
You know,
right.
because,
You don't humiliate each
and
other.
And
you
that's,
don't fight in public.
Well, that's also in some ways independent.
See, the thing why you shouldn't do things in public is because you have to take all stimuli into factor. And if you are in private, the only stimuli is you and your partner. If you're in public, you have to think about, how do I get this message across to her without the people around me thinking I'm crazy? If you're in public, you know how your partner thinks. You just tell them directly, like, hey, so and so, so, so. And then like, oh, so, 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 so. And then so, 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 so. And then you have a conversation about it. But when you're in public, it's like, it's a subconscious thing where, like, you know you can't just tell them they're being a so-and-so because that'll make you look like you're crazy. I mean, some people do just say it and they look crazy. But, like, for most people, you're not going to look crazy for no reason because, you know, you have a reputation to uphold. My sister says she wants to play games.
In a way, it's independent of who your wife or husband is. It's like, you know, you could imagine two people fighting in public and one of them or both of them really deserving to have that fight as people. But then to keep the marriage intact, you have to remember, well, this is my wife. She's not just my friend. She's not just someone I know. She's my wife. And we shouldn't be doing primate dominance hierarchy maneuvering in public. We shouldn't be competing for power because that's going to destroy the marriage.
Yeah.
And so that's part of that honoring, I think, is to remember the role and to keep it, well, sacred is really right, sacrosanct.
Here's another one. Don't ever insult each other, even though you want to. Like, you want to, like, be mean sometimes. Like, people get mean to you. You want to be mean back.
I like that because in one hand, insulting is fun. But at the end of the day, insulting doesn't fix the problem. You can address the problem. Like, you can address their bad qualities, but like saying they are their bad qualities or making a joke about the qualities or equivalating their bad qualities to something else don't really help you with fixing their bad qualities. Alright, she wants to hop on the game, so I guess we can play a little bit of game instead of doing this podcast. So I guess this is the end of this podcast. A little sloppy, a little less talking. I'll probably do more talking on the next one. But I just want to get some content out there. I don't know if I'll drop this as a podcast. We'll see. I'll probably just take the clips from this. Probably most definitely take the clips from this and just put them out there. Maybe drop some on my main channel and cut the clips. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. I'll catch y'all later. I mean, I'm gonna start streaming again, but under a different tag.